Hello. It didn't accept our thumbnail. I don't know what the picture's gonna look like on this.
Well.
You missed us you were doing the Bat 2C. I was... Cool, that'll be the thumbnail when I post it up later on. I'm not used to doing this on a Monday.
No, as our nation erupts into chaos, we went and saw a cartoon.
Yeah. So it was just like, I knew this was coming up, but with the Fathom events, we went to go see Batman and Harley Quinn. It was a one night only tonight. This is a Monday, and I knew it was something that was coming up, but I'm never like checking to see what show times are like on a Monday, because we never really go to anything on a Monday. On like a Tuesday we usually will. So typically if I want to see what Fathom events are coming up, I just go to the Fathom event site, and I had this listed, and that was when I texted you. I was like, oh hey, this is coming up like tomorrow or the next day. You want to go see Batman and Harley Quinn? So where would you put this on the list of I guess animated Batman movies that we've seen together?
That we've seen together?
Yeah, because we've reviewed all
of the
together,
three in the past year or so. This one's dead in the middle.
Yeah, sure. I'd probably put it there.
Yeah, like it's The Killing Joke was fucking awful, and Return of the Cape Crusader was
great.
Was a blast,
yeah.
And this was a mixed bag. This had good points. It also had bad points. It's I mean, it's definitely a hell of a lot more watchable than The Killing Joke.
No, it was. The movie was fine. It's not that really kind of sketchy animation that like The Killing Joke had. It looks like Batman the Animated Series.
No, it was definitely a return to form animation wise.
Yeah, and it's a comedy. It is, and it's as a comedy, it's
not great as a comedy.
Well, there were parts that I laughed out loud, but it didn't. There were parts where it was like, okay, I think it's kind of trying to go for like a 60s series vibe, but with the Batman the Animated Series character. A little bit, here and there. As it kept going, and the way that the plot was in this film, with Batman and Nightwing teaming up with Harley Quinn to stop Poison Ivy and
the Floronic Man.
Yeah, the Floronic Man.
Like reaching deep into the D list of DC villains. And don't get me wrong, I love the Floronic Man. I really do. But yet, he's not like the go-to baddie, I think, for this kind of thing.
I just love the fact it was Kevin Richardson doing the voice, who's one of my favorite voice guys ever. He does. He also does the voice on the trailer for that Kevin Sorbo Let There Be Light movie, the one that's the plot of Jesus Bro but done serious, but it's Kevin Richardson doing the voiceover on the trailer, so it kind of still seems like a parody. I just fucking love his voice, so that was cool seeing him as the villain in this. But kind of the way some of the comedy is, and even the plot itself, as it kept going, more often than not, it felt less like the comedy was like the 60s TV series, but more like if the characters in Batman the Animated Series and that style and everything were working with a 70s Hanna-Barbera script.
Yeah, it was. and in that context, to me, a lot of the comedy felt forced. Like, during a bunch of fight scenes, there's pratfalls and shit, and it's like, oh, but none of these characters... Alright, fine.
There were some good jokes in this. A lot of it had to do with Batman reacting to things.
No, and that's always fun.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a throwback to the animated series, where like there'd be something ridiculous happening and Batman would just like
stare.
Yeah, or just slightly smirk or something.
And in this, it's that, and I laughed my ass off at this part when the dude was talking about Harley Quinn, and he said, "I'd like to cut me off a piece of that pie." And it just cuts to this stone-faced look of Batman, and it was funny. There was even... I never thought I would say this about an animated Batman movie, but I'm like, I thought the fart joke was funny.
Yeah, no, the fart joke was funny. I'll give it that. Like, but, yeah, there was...
Smells like discipline. That was funny. Like,
Yeah.
But I laughed way more at Return of the Cape Crusaders.
Well, in Return of the Cape Crusaders, the thing about that movie was brilliantly written.
It absolutely was.
Like, to take advantage of not only the shtick,
Mm-hmm.
because the shtick is funny now, but also
Yeah.
to be a love letter to that series.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, like, it just didn't feel as organic, you know?
This felt like... The movie is through and through a comedy, but there are parts where you're right about tone in this, honestly. Not that it ever really gets super serious or anything like that.
No, it doesn't, but when you're combining that kind of comedy with the animation style, and you know, those kind of still painted gray backgrounds from the animated series, and, you know, Kevin Conroy's voice, which is imposing as fuck. And you have him playing Batman like he's always played Batman. Very straight.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And then you combine it with, like, to me, the major failing of this thing was the music. Because for the whole tone of the movie, it's got, like, this upbeat jazz combo bits. And it's like, I know a lot of jazz played in Batman the Animated Series, but it always seemed more serious than what was playing here.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't necessarily... Did something fly in here?
Yeah. Fucking hit me in the head.
They've started throwing rocks now from the chat. That didn't really throw me off terribly much because, again, it is through and through a comedy, but, like, there would be parts where I would be sitting there and visually speaking, and with some of the voices, you would feel like you're kind of watching the show, like maybe a more upbeat episode of the show or something like that, because that's kind of what it looks like at first glance. But then there's, like, a vibrator joke.
Yeah.
You know, like a Harley Quinn saying, "Oh, I'll call you next time I run out of batteries," or something like that. And then, like, that's fine, but, like, it would take me back a second, like, oh, right, this is like a PG-13 comedy.
Well, and that's the thing, too. It's just kind of like... and that sort of thing was an issue for me too, where it's like, okay, well, if you're gonna make it like an adult kind of movie, even if it is just PG-13, stick with that, like, because like the third or fourth time someone mildly swore in it, and it was just kind of like, either you do it or you don't, you know?
Sure, yeah. We gotta talk about the karaoke part.
Okay. You start. I don't even know where to start with this, because
half of this is probably my favorite scene in the movie. There's a part where they go into like a dive bar that's specifically for, like, henchmen
and goons.
Yeah, henchmen and goons, and you see a lot of weird figures in there. There's some twins, there's a clown, there's a gangster.
Well, a lot of them are characters from episodes of the animated series.
And like, it's been so long since I've sat down and watched that, I couldn't tell you any of them by name, but, like, they go in there, and this part I really liked. There's the twins on stage, and they're singing "Don't Pull Your Love," which I love that fucking song.
It's a fantastic song.
Yeah.
And for a brief moment, it was the funniest joke in the movie.
I was fine with the fact that they did the whole song. When I realized they were gonna do the whole song, part of me was like, I'm pretty sure they're doing this for padding to get it to 80 minutes, probably, maybe, I don't know. But
which is fine, because it was a great scene.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to admit, it was so unnecessary.
Sure, by all accounts, it is something that could technically absolutely be shortened.
They could have done like half a verse and the joke would have been more than in.
Yeah, but I was still fine. Granted, it's because I love that song.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a well done scene. The scene did keep me very entertained. Like, they're just up there singing and they're watching him from the audience, and there's some shots of some dancing going on. Yeah, that's, and I was like, you know what, this is well done. I'm into this scene. It's weird. You don't expect something like that to come out of this movie, so I was fine with it. But then here's where I was like, okay, now you're really just doing padding. Harley Quinn needs to get information from a dude, and the guy's like, okay, but not until you do this. And then, right after they do the entirety of Don't Pull Your Love, she gets on stage and sings
Hanging on the Telephone.
Hanging on the Telephone.
By Blondie. A fantastic song.
No, yeah, absolutely.
But they also do it in its entirety.
And it is really fan servicey. I mean, hell, the title of this movie alone is, but like, it is like she's grinding on the microphone and everything. And you know what? You mentioned this outside. That when it got to that point, because again,
it was obvious padding and it was obvious fan service. But the main problem I had with that is like, fine, you're doing this. Something else should have been happening, because Batman's just standing in this middle of a bar surrounded by goons.
Yeah.
And no one seems to know, like, two guys notice.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, so if you're going to do this song and have her sing this song.
In its entirety.
And then after the song, you're going to have an off-screen fight.
Yeah.
Have the fight during the song.
I agree. I agree. At that point, especially because they just did all of Don't Pull Your Love, and now they're asking us to sit through all of this. Yeah, there should have been something going on in that. A fight or something. And the fight's off screen so they can do a bam splat thing on there.
Only they do, like, break, bleed, and ow my balls.
Yeah.
Which was...
we saw that better in Return of the Cape Crusaders.
Yeah, it was an unnecessary reference.
Yeah.
Considering that Return of the Cape Crusaders was just out a few months ago, and the next one's coming out soon. Like, I get the fact that it was a joke, but it was an unnecessary joke, and it didn't land at all. It didn't. Like, at least some of the other jokes in the movie made me chuckle. That one made me physically go, ugh.
Yeah, it did me too, because even though this is a comedy, it didn't feel like Batman the TV series to me, the 60s one, for the most part. So yeah, that was about, I don't know, like maybe 20 minutes in the middle of this film. Harley Quinn has never been my favorite character in the world. Like, more often than not, I just find her obnoxious. In this, here and there, like, the way it sets her up, where she's in hiding, she's working at a waitress at a restaurant that specifically all the waitresses are dressed up in costume.
And
like,
over-sexualized versions of superhero costumes.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of funny, because...
I did too.
It was an over-sexualized version. All these waitresses are wearing over-sexualized version of superhero costumes, and Harley Quinn is wearing, like, the movie version of her costume.
Oh, right.
And then she changes into her normal, classic outfit for the rest of the movie, which, thank fucking Christ.
Oh, yeah. That was a good setup. Like, I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm enjoying this little arc that this character is having right here. As it goes along, there were some jokes she had that were fine. There were parts where I was like, yeah, okay, this is getting a little bit of annoying. But overall, Jillian did a fantastic job of doing her voice. Sitting like, I know this voice. This is the Chloe voice. No, Michelle Rauch, is that it?
Something like that.
She's the voice in this, and she's fine. It's just never been one of my characters, one of my favorite characters. And if you are one of the people who really digs the hell out of Harley Quinn, you might like this, I guess. I don't know. It's certainly got enough fan servicey parts in it. Yeah. She bangs Nightwing in a scene.
And that's fan servicey to a degree, but also at the same time completely within Nightwing's character.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it didn't feel... that so did not feel out of place or anything at all.
I don't know that he would have banged Harley Quinn, per se, but... In the context of the movie, it's just kind of like, yeah, sure. Show that Nightwing's a bit of a man whore. I'm okay with that, because he is.
Yeah. Yeah, I was... Yeah, that was fine. And then... do you want to talk about Swamp Thing?
Okay. So the plot of the movie, basically, it's Poison Ivy and the Floronic Man, which this is the Floronic Man that at least I'm most familiar with is a tiny, skinny little plant guy who's just off his fucking rocker. In this, he's this huge, hulking, serious beast.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if they just combined him and Solomon Grundy, which is this, only comic nerds are going to get that shit. But basically what their plan is to turn all life on Earth into plant life using the same process that turned Eric Holland into Swamp Thing, which is like, all right, you're going real deep cut there for an, like, okay, yeah, I guess a lot of your audience is gonna get that, but a lot of casual viewers aren't.
I wasn't sitting there confused, like.
No, and I understand, but it's also, like, they alluded to some, like, deep cut Swamp Thing shit in this movie. Like, they reference and go into, at one point, the Green.
Sure.
Which I don't even know how to get into explaining it. In the comics, Swamp Thing, he's not just a big swamp creature. He is the elemental essence of plant life on Earth.
Yeah.
Like, or in the universe, actually. So, like, he's kind of a super powerful character. And so, like, they travel through the Green, and then Swamp Thing shows up at the end as this, like, Deus Ex Machina. He's, like, 300 feet tall.
Yeah.
Gives a short little lecture and goes, yeah, but you're going to do what you're going to do. Now I must go back to the Parliament of Trees. Another thing that would take me 3 fucking weeks to explain. That was somebody that asked, hey, Dave, what's the Parliament of Trees? Oh, fuck, man, okay.
You know what, that was all totally worth it for him just sinking back in there and then cutting over to Batman, Nightwing, and Harley Quinn with Harley Quinn just going, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. No, and it was great for the joke, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, you put in 2 full songs instead of explaining plot points. You know?
Priorities.
And then the movie doesn't have a fucking ending.
Oh, but it does. It ends with Batman and Nightwing lighting the villain on fire.
But not showing it. Harley Quinn suggests it. Batman lights a match. Cut to credits. And then, after the first few bats of credits, the Floronic Man running through the swamp on fire.
Like, well, I don't see that every day.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm used to Batman blowing people up, but it's when Michael Keaton is playing.
Yeah.
You know, the movie, it was... Look, it was a one-night only thing. I don't know if this is getting theatrically shown any other time.
Probably
I don't think
not.
it is.
If they do these things, like, straight to video, and it'll probably be on a streaming service soon.
This, for the price I paid, for the Fathom event price I paid for this, no, it's not worth something like that, but
anything that's less than an hour and a half long isn't worth paying theater prices for.
Well, something that like this that feels like there's no reason less it's running time and more like there's no reason I need to necessarily be seeing this in the theater.
Oh,
this is the
all.
kind of thing where, like, you pull this up on Netflix, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's not great. Return of the Cape Crusaders is better.
That one I'm glad we saw in the theater.
Oh, I am too. That was totally worth it.
That was a different experience too.
Yeah,
and that's...
yeah. But again, better than The Killing Joke. It was better than that.
I've taken wet shits better than The Killing Joke. Wet popcorn shits.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh man. Any other final thoughts about this?
It was middling. It had moments, and it's just so weird to me that the best moment in the entire movie was such a worthless moment.
Yeah.
You know, that's...
Well, if you don't count the bits of trivia they had at the beginning of the movie.
The 4 pieces of trivia they showed over and over again.
Yeah, where was Harley Quinn born? One of the choices was Krypton. One of the questions was, who is Harley Quinn's BFF? One of the choices was Lois Lane. What are the names of Harley Quinn's
pet hyenas?
Pet hyenas. One of the choices was Will and Grace.
Which I wish it was.
Yeah. Ned and Stacy. Yes.
Oh, yes.
All right. I think I'm going to try to see The Glass Castle sometime this week. But coming up on Thursday is The Hitman's Bodyguard and Logan Lucky. I think that's the other one. So thanks for everyone in the chat watching us on a Monday night talking about Batman and Harley Quinn.
Yes.
So all right, I'll talk to you guys later.